Computer. Right. Good morning. So me and Sharon and I are chatting this morning with Helena, who is a former teacher, about what she's now doing since she's left the teaching profession. So morning, Helena.
Morning.
Morning.
So just to give a little bit of context, obviously I don't want you to talk about your exit from teaching because you posted about that the other day, but can you just tell our audience a little bit about your teaching background?
Yes, so I worked as a teacher for 16 years. I trained as a drama teacher, and I worked in 2 schools with a little bit of supply in between when I had my boys. And the last school I worked at was an SEN school, 11 to 19. And I was head of drama and then moved on to head of Key Stage 3. So that's kind of...
This is going to be an interesting one because you're from the non-core subjects.
Yeah.
But to see how, because that's one of the main questions we get. If you're English, maths and science, there's a perception that there's more roots out of teaching. Yeah. I'm interested for this one. Well done, Sarah.
Yay, start
no pressure.
With a pat on the back.
It's better be good. I hope it's nothing illegal.
So I think we probably maybe start with a bit of a disclaimer that Helena and I have already connected on Twitter probably about 12 months ago, actually, isn't it? When I first came out of teaching, and I used Twitter as my main conduit for promoting my photography business at that point in time. And it's only in the last few weeks that Helena and I have actually realised that there is this crossover between us, that we've got this kind of shared history. So there is a bit of a connection between you and I already, isn't there? So we know quite a lot about each other. So we need to treat Sharon as the
special child.
Okay. I wasn't going to say idiot.
Too early to care.
Too early to care. So tell us what you're doing. What's your
wood.
Wood.
That's basically it. Wood.
This
Lovely.
Better be good.
Yeah.
This better be good.
Honestly, it really is. Basically, my husband was he's got his own business as a joiner. So he's really, really good with all different kinds of things to do with carpentry and all that kind of stuff. So when I left, it was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? I needed something. Basically, I didn't want to ask them for a reference. I didn't. That was my thing. I couldn't. So I couldn't, and I wasn't going to. I just didn't.
The reference.
I didn't want to ask them for anything that was going to help me, and that was just probably me being stubborn. But there was no way. So I needed to do something myself. We've been talking about running a business for ages, Aaron and I, and we just decided that, hey, do you know what? Let's just try. And people want things. People are always asking us for, at the time it was things like chopping boards and just little bits of furniture and things like that. And that's basically how it started. It was like a baptism of fire. No money, nothing. We had savings that we could invest into the business. We've kind of, it's
we're going to just pull you back on that. It was a baptism of fire.
Yes.
One of the common threads that you get when you've gone into business is this: there isn't a blueprint. Sometimes you've just got to roll your sleeves up and trade.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think people look at starting up a business and think, well, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do the other. Actually, if you've got a piece of wood, sell it for a business.
Yeah, honestly.
Computer, walk into someone's house and take £32 off them. The rest follows.
Yeah, I think people also think that you're just gonna, I'm starting this business, and they see all this stuff on Dragon's Den and think, oh yeah, I can. Just like all the kids at school used to say, Britain's Got Talent, I'm going to be famous, because that's kind of the culture we're in. And it's like, actually, no, you have to work damn hard.
Yeah.
But saying
it took me 10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah, honestly. And that's exactly, people think that it's, well, maybe, I mean, I think people think it's easy, but, and do you know what? I've actually found it easy. And I don't mean that.
People don't manage their expectations about income. They
Yeah.
think they're going to launch with the they don't realise the momentum that's involved, the build, and everything can be achieved through business. But it's year 2 that you want to get into.
Yeah.
And that's,
it's interesting about time, because one of the things as teachers, I mean, it was one of my massive bugbears, and for the last sort of 3 years of my career, I was completely tracking my time all of the time, totting up my hours, figuring out how much I was doing. And it was, it was my standard complaint. I'm doing 70-hour weeks. I'm doing twice as much as I'm expected. Now, in this last 6 months, I've still been doing 50, 60, 70-hour weeks, but it doesn't feel like work. I'm working really hard, but it doesn't feel like work because I've found something. To keep coming back to Sharon's phrase, I found my joy. I've found lots of different joys. I've got my photography, I've got my tutoring, I'm running a tuition business. I've spread out and diversified, and it's beyond ridiculous, but it's exciting.
How many hours a week do you spend on your business, Helena?
All the time.
Yeah. I was up till 2 o'clock this morning.
All the time.
Ask me, was I bothered? I was having a ball. I had to force myself to bed.
I used to, it's like Sunday nights now. I'm just like, way.
Yeah.
Just because I can.
You never lose that Sunday night feeling once you've been out teaching.
Yeah.
And that new Sunday night feeling is, because you've had such a contrast to what your Sunday night was, you never take Sunday night for granted ever again.
No.
Ever.
No.
Or knowing when the kids are going back to school and you think, I'd be going back to school now after the holidays, which would have signalled for me the most horrific nightmares ever. I used to have these crazy dreams. That never leaves you, that gratitude that you don't have to do that anymore. But going back to what you said, starting your own business, it's one of multiple income streams, which is another message I keep banging on about. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about what your business actually is. What is it you do with this wood?
So what we do now, where we kind of are now, we kind of started here, and then we've kind of gone, we're kind of here somewhere now. So what we do now really is we're getting into working with businesses. So we do a lot of branded merchandise and different things. So our whole thing is eco-friendly. So every product we make was something else. So like at the moment we do a lot with floorboards. So we've got floorboards from loads of different places: walnut, beech, oak floorboards, tables, furniture.
Because they'll have had memories in them.
They've got past lives, and a lot of like the marketing we do. It's like the primary school down the road that both my boys went to. They were getting rid of these saffron chairs, and they were solid beech legs and arms. So we did like a bit of a campaign saying, if only these legs and arms could talk, what would they say? Being in a staff room, we all know.
Saturated by the tears of primary school teachers being bullied.
Exactly, yes. And we made them some coasters with the logos on and sent them back, to kind of show the children this is, you can recycle. Stuff like that would have ended up in landfills. So that's kind of our thing that we like to, it's really, really bad, but we say Aaron and I are like the superheroes of the wooden world, and we go out rescuing pieces of wood from landfill from the side of the road. So
skip diving.
Yeah, well, kind of, but obviously you're not supposed to do that. But there's a lot of businesses who say, if you see it here, you could, like, locally, they know us, and they say you could, they'll ring us and say, Helena,
where'd you store all this wood?
So Aaron built his own workshop in the garden. So we've got...
Aaron. I can't even put a pair of curtains up. I need Aaron in my life.
Everyone says, he's so amazing, he can do anything. And he actually can, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So we built a workshop, and then we've got another kind of shed, which we store the excess wood in. So he works in the workshop, we've got that. And then we've got this room, which was our old kitchen. Then it was the kids' games room, and now it's my office.
Fabulous.
So they've been kicked out.
How did you cope with the big question, always asked, I need the money, I need to be earning my teaching salary, I need to pay this bill, that bill, the other bill. How do you leave teaching and, by your own definition, start a business that you can't really make a living from by year 2? So how do you do that?
Badly.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
You find a way.
I contacted Universal Credit. I'd paid millions of what I felt like in tax over the years, and I thought, you know what? Let's see if they can help me out.
Helena, I was on the dole when I first left, right? And I had to go and sign on in Warrington. Okay, now bearing in mind I'd been a head of year in Warrington, and I was signing on in May 2013.
Yeah.
And I'd be sat there, and a kid would go, Miss, hello, hiya, are you working here now? Yes, that is exactly what I am doing here now. Yes, I am. And I had to go and sign on with some of the kids I taught. I got a rent paid, I got housing benefit, and I actually went and signed on.
Yeah. Well, so I basically, I worked out my options, and I thought, we've got a mortgage. Luckily enough, it's not a huge mortgage. We haven't got long left on it. Luckily enough, I paid my water bill in full the year before. So,
see,
I had
you just come down to things like that, don't they? I've sold stuff on eBay because of what I needed to make from my bottom line until the business started going.
But obviously, Aaron, I left in November. So luckily I was getting paid. I got paid up until December was my last wage. So Christmas was fine. And we just kind of went for it. You know, we did have some savings that we kind of reinvested into the business. But in terms of, it was Universal Credit. And for all that they call it, it saved, it did help out. We didn't get loads, but it paid our mortgage for the first year. And you know what? Helen, I'm going to give her a shout out at my local job centre. I had to go literally we'd have to go every 3 months to kind of show them what I've been doing. I had to prove to her that I was a viable business. And they were amazing.
I went on a scheme called Blue Orchid, and Blue Orchid were from the job centre. So that's why I didn't have to become a job seeker.
Yeah. Because
they put me on a course to develop business skills. You know, and you have to take the rough with the smooth. One of them was a literacy session, you know, and I'm there 26 years as an English teacher being taught how to do a complete sentence. But do you know what? Bring it on. You pay me £60 a week, I'll sit here. And at that point, I think I was so damaged. I was just like, well, it's an afternoon out, isn't it?
Sweet cup of tea.
Yeah. And I'm talking to people who, do you know what? I've got a bit of grit. Because what they're not doing is they're not saying, well, I've got mortgages to pay and we go on 3 holidays a year. They're actually out there. We've got a great thing, haven't we? The Teddy Roosevelt speech that's been in the arena. I don't know if you've ever read that. It's a great, great speech about there are people in there day in, day out and just doing it. You can't sometimes think you can leave teaching and just exit on a cloud because nothing's going to, especially if you're an experienced teacher, what else are you there experienced in that they're going to pay you that? Doesn't exist.
No.
Yeah, and the difference between the private sector and public sector in terms of pay, as much as teachers definitely aren't paid enough, they're still paid very well. And
still, to be fair, get a lot of time off. In holiday periods that you're not going to get in the
a lot of flex. And I think there's a tipping point with teaching, and it happens very early on. That I think by year 5, it's probably too late in terms of that equivalent pay for your experience. And that was always one of my blocks, I think, even sort of 10 years ago when I was thinking about setting up the photography as a real business. That was all. I'm not going to earn that sort of money off, and that was the block. So I had a question in my head, and it's gone, Helena.
Can can I just ask? So you were on universal credit.
Yep.
You know what? Aldi becomes your friend.
Do you know what? We went to Florida twice because we shopped at Aldi. Not recently, by the way. When I was,
You just cut your cloth, don't you?
Oh yeah, love Aldi.
You know what? I've got a
Absolutely.
wardrobe here of clothes I actually wear, rather than 3/4 of a wardrobe that are my aspirational when I'll get back into them, and the ones I keep for best. And actually, I've just trimmed down how I live my life. The kids had wardrobes of clothes that they wore, and we didn't have takeouts the way we used to have takeouts. A frugal existence is part and parcel of having to. I don't call them sacrifices. I wasn't making sacrifices because I've never been happier.
Yeah, exactly. And they've nailed it. Honestly, the day that I made the decision, I was sat there and I was kind of being given this kind of thing at me, and I just sat there and I wasn't listening to a word that she was saying, and all that's going through my mind is, what am I doing here?
Yeah,
this is ridiculous. I don't put up with this. So you get, and the one thing, if you look at the universe, and it sounds ridiculous, this, but honestly, the universe is amazing.
Yes, it is.
I'm putting up with this crap, and I've got 2 children at home. I've got a husband at home, and I am a brilliant person. I don't care what people, you know what I mean. And I'm a fantastic teacher, no matter what people say.
Sending you the messages.
If you know what, exactly. And I was sat there thinking, well, I've got one wife. What the hell? No one would put up with this. This is absolutely appalling. So that was all that was going through my head, and I just thought, that's it. And honestly, I walked out, and although I had a lot of anger and I was upset, I wasn't actually upset about the fact that I wouldn't have any money or anything like that. I was just like, I'm going to do it. And you know what? It's that, the haters, as I call them, even though the people that want to see you fail drive your success.
Yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, and
my success has been my revenge. I kill them with my success and bury them with a smile.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to someone the other day, and I said that someone actually contacted me and said, do you want me to do some voodoo stuff again? Which I just thought was hysterical. And I'm like, oh no, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you. But I thought, oh, that's an option.
Business, though.
That's an option. I said, but I mean, I'll be the first 6 months, bear in mind, it was January. Who wants to buy anything in January?
Oh, yeah.
No one wants to spend it. February.
Do you know what else you do just before we move on to that? You go, so I'm shopping in Aldi. So we're living more frugally. And do you know what else I'm not doing? I'm not putting 120 quid a month in petrol to get back and to school in peak hour. Yeah. I'm not spending a fortune on my dinners because I've not got enough time to organise myself to take a healthy packed lunch. So I'm going to stop at Tesco's garage on the way there and spend 7 quid a day on rubbish. And you actually save a significant. I wasn't paying childcare after school.
Yeah.
And actually, you don't just do your checks and balances in terms of what you need to spend. You really start with your checks and balances about what you're going to save. You can even go to a 1-car family if you need to. It's hardly third world conditions.
Yeah.
And you utterly downsize your life until you can build it back up again. Because the minute you realise that the finances aren't everything, find your joy, and the abundance of wealth will come back to you because you're pursuing your passion.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely. Honestly, I completely agree with you. The one thing that bills and everything was fine with, but I had a car on finance, and I just wanted to give it back, and they wouldn't let me give it back. And that was the one company, because I had credit cards and I never missed a payment, not massive ones, but I'm obviously paying them off. They were fantastic, but I wish I'd never bought that car, because that did cause me, I mean, I'm paying it off now, but that was stressful. It really stressed me out.
But isn't it interesting that you think, so people always, the go-to is the mortgage. Am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to pay me? But actually yours was a car payment.
It was because of I know what they can kind of do. And I phoned up, and all they said to me was, because I was really honest, I just said, look, this is where I am now. I can't, I'm not on this money. What can I do? And she said, just cancel your direct debit. And that's what they advised me to do, the company. And I just said, well, but then I'm not paying it. So every time I save money up and I but they've been the worst they have been. I mean, I've
So
got
now,
like
come on, tell me what your average day looks like. Give me your day. When you go on the plane and you start sanding down wood, a bit of varnish.
A lot of my day is actually social networking. I don't make the things, I design them, and I do a lot of you can't really see it, but I've got like carving things, we've got laser things, and we've got this lovely packing table here that my husband made me, which I just love. It's even got a place for scissors and pens.
None of this is
dropping in.
Fabulous.
Sarah, none of this is appealing to me, and I know you're now very, very excited.
Oh, I am.
I've just zoned out.
Yeah, a lot of what I do is a lot of the sales that we make and the customers come from Twitter mainly. We were on a bit of a 70% Twitter, to be honest. Everything came through referrals. So social media is a massive thing, which, you know, you go from working with, say, 250 members of staff to just yourself. And you're just like, you know, what do I do? So this, I know you said this, Sarah.
And you can't bully yourself, can you, at the end of the day?
Well, I can give myself a stern talking to, but no, I've got my husband now, so, you know. But yeah, so the social media was definitely a lifeline for me in terms of meeting like-minded people who were, you know, starting up businesses or had businesses, small businesses, and you kind of learn from them. I think the one thing that I try and do is give myself as many opportunities as I can to get the business out there, and that's kind of what I'd recommend. So things like your council will offer you immense support, and they have free courses. Lloyds Bank, I was actually a member, got asked to be on a panel for Lloyds Bank Business.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Why haven't I, Sarah?
Oh, blimey.
Well,
that was
speak to Helena.
I know it's nothing to do with the question.
No, go tell
let me tell you how that kind of came about, because so I'm on a program called People Plus Enterprise. I don't know if you've heard of People Plus. So I'm on this program where you get a mentor. So I just threw myself at this thing and just kind of said, oh yeah, and usually when you do these things, they sound too good to be true, but this has been absolutely fantastic for our business. So you get a mentor, and they put you on like different programs, they phone you, they give you advice, tell you about things that are happening. And what my mentor actually was on holiday for a week, so I got a new one, Martin Walsh, Inspirals bassist, everyone.
Oh, mates with my mate Clint Boone.
Yes. Well, yes. Yeah, so anyway,
Ian Brown lives in Lim.
So I grew up listening to all that kind of stuff, absolutely loved it. But I didn't actually realise, I was talking to Martin of the Inspirals until I was live on BBC Radio Manchester. He got me on BBC Radio Manchester talking about my business. And Anna Jameson's like, so Martin, when you're not doing the basis on the Inspiral carpets, I was like,
did you have a complete
I couldn't concentrate.
moment?
I couldn't concentrate. I was like, oh my God, that's who I've been talking to for the last week. He's been texting me and everything. What's good? And I was like, and then she's asking me a question about the business. I'm going, just hang on, I just need to get over the facts.
Just need to process the facts.
No, and just wait. And I was like, have you heard this? And he's like, what are you on about? I'm like, oh, sorry, wood. So I was texting him after going, I can't believe you didn't tell me. I need your autograph. And I was proper geeking out. But anyway, I can't remember what I was talking about now, but that was anyway. So, yes, so I contacted Martin and just said, just because I was like, I haven't got your autograph yet. Anything going on to help me kind of, because a lot of people I've met sit there and expect people to just come and buy from them, and they'll just, but that's not going to happen. You need to like absolutely catapult yourself into the middle of the sea and make ripples.
You need to be prolific.
You need to, in a nice way, not in a kind of, way. Anyway, I contacted Martin and said, anything going on that you know about that I can do? And he said, do you know what, Helena, I was just thinking about you. And I was like, and he's like, I was just about to send you an email. Lloyds are looking for, you'd be perfect. Do you want to come and be the panel to talk about what you've been doing during, Corona and all this? And we've got 2 other people on there. It was Carol Bartram. She does like these bees. You might have seen them on social media. And she also does a lot of charity work. And Liam, who runs the Disbury Gin.
I thought you were going to say Gallagher then, in light of the theme of
Liam Gallagher. Yeah, imagine. That's next year. I'm working towards that one next year. Going to be duetting with him.
Did you ever think when you were in your bleakest times, and I mean your really bleakest times where you thought there's no way out of this, that one day you'd be sat having this kind of anecdotal thing and been so grateful for your time, so grateful. But the one thing that I would say is this, and I wonder if you agree with me. The reason why we've called our group and used the word thrive is this. When you are in a school in your darkest time, the word dark, I think, is quite important because you can't flourish, you can't blossom, and you can't bloom. And look at what your school lost in terms of a skill set.
Yeah.
How great you were on social media, how amazing you are to get your stuff out there. And you were somebody who was perceived as inadequate in a weakness or whatever it was that went on with you, because I don't know. And you look at these people, and it's only when they get out of that darkness do they actually bloom into this unrecognisable thing, which is why the message more than anything is, if you are so unhappy, just do it, because it really will work.
Yeah, and that's honestly, and people say to me now, but I can't. And I say, well, it's only you that's saying you can't.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's up to you. But if you don't, and I kind of say, don't moan to me.
Yeah.
I am proof that the
world will not spin off its axis.
No, it's not easy, but nothing is ever. It's that whole thing of, honestly, you look at what goes on in the world and the terrible things that happen, and you're there. You've got your house, you've got your family, you've got clothes, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Honestly, you can do anything you want to do. If you choose not to, you choose not to. But kind of don't sit there and that sounds really harsh. But I've been there, so I know.
Yeah.
And I've been there a number of times where I thought, I just don't want to do this. I can't, but I have to. No, honestly, you don't.
It's almost like ripping off a plaster, isn't it? If you keep picking at it, it's going to hurt. If you're that miserable, get some kind of a contingency plan in place.
Yeah. And just work towards it.
And just get out of the toxic environment.
Yeah, you're not going to be on universal credit forever. I mean, it didn't take me long, to move on from that. But boy, did it help. And they were fantastic. And there's councils are desperate to help small businesses. They are what they're focusing on. They've got millions of pounds to invest in small businesses.
Yeah.
They've got loads of opportunities.
Particularly now, because small businesses are what they perceive as keeping the economy afloat.
Yeah, backbone of the economy. And that's, honestly, we have really, really flourished during this whole time. We've absolutely...
Yeah, we have.
Really, done so well. And we seem, I've got loads of wood here I can touch. It's brilliant, but I always have to do that. But it's... I can't remember what I was saying now. Got carried away.
It's about the local business.
Yes.
And
there's
and so much out there.
Yeah, people really want to work with small businesses. Obviously, like the environmental friendly thing as well is really kind of what we've got going for us as well. But people want to invest in small businesses. They want to work with them because they've seen how the big businesses cope and they don't cope. They're
like oil tankers, aren't they? They can't move quickly enough. And I think it's prime time for...
So what we're going to do is we're obviously going to drop your Facebook group and your website and everything in the comments below. But what is the name of this wonderful wood company?
It's called Harty's Wooden Things.
Harty's Wooden Things.
It was, trust me, I think there was whiskey involved in that name. I'll be honest with you.
Harty's Wooden Things.
Yeah, I know. It's
brilliant.
But do you know what? I really like it. We couldn't think of anything. There was all sorts of things, lots of innuendos. I get it all the time, but hey.
I love it.
Sells.
Harty's Wooden Things. I'm definitely going to have a look at that and we'll sort something. Because what I wouldn't mind is I want to get old school board dusters for my tutors as a Christmas present. The old school one.
Yeah.
Might be giving you a little tinkle at some point.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fab.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. I've loved it.
We'll do this again. We'll get a group of entrepreneurs together and chew the fat, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be nice to have a panel. Actually.
Yeah, a panel.
It'd be
Well, we
nice.
know a woman who's got a few panels.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks ever so much, Helena.
No,
It's been
you're welcome.
amazing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop recording, but stay there.